steps or how you will change your life.
He's here to share his story. Building Bitnomi, we have Sajid Caldera.
Of what happens when fiat actually does. This is a picture of.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
I went to the store and bought a whiteboard.
මේක තමයි මේන් ඉවෙන්ට් එක අපි ඔක්කොම සහභාගී වුණා Bitplebs conference කියලා කිව්වේ මේකට තමයි. ඉතින් මේකට ලෝකෙ වටේම ඉන්න Bitcoin expertලා නැත්නම් Bitcoin වල වැඩ කරන අය එක දේවල් හදන අය ඇවිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ අදහස් සහ experience අනිත් අයට speeches වශයෙන් කියලා දෙන්න තමයි මේක හදලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේකට ඉන්දියාව වගේම වෙනවන රටවල් අය සහභාගී වුණා. එක ප්‍රාන්ත වලින් සහභාගී වුණා. ඉතින් පළවෙනියටම තියෙන්නේ ඒ ස්පීචස් ටික තමයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එක කියන්නේ එතන එක්කෙනෙක් එයාගේ එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එක කිව්වා Bitcoin වල වැඩ කරන ගැහණියක් වශයෙන් එයාට තියෙන opportunities.
Another woman in Bitcoin, like how rare is that? We got 2 women in Bitcoin already.
So, to motivate maybe some of your future steps.
ඒ වගේම මම අර ඉස්සල පෙන්නුව එපිසෝඩ් එකේ ආසා කියන එක්කෙනා කතා කරා.
So, my name is Shalale. I actually noticed that everyone here is calling me Aza, which is not my name, but it's one of the many nicknames. So,
එයාගේ ස්පීච් එකකුත් මේකේ තියෙනවා. ඒ ස්පීච් එක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ එයාගේ Bitcoin ෆිල්ම් ෆෙස්ටිවල් එකේ වැඩ ගැන.
How's everyone doing? Okay, at this rate, maybe I have to do this without my presentation, so we'll see how it goes.
සන්තෝෂ් වගේ අය කතා කරා. සන්තෝෂ් ඇවිල්ලා මේ ඇෆ්‍රිකාව වටේ ටුවර් එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා Bitcoin ගැන ඉගෙන ගන්න. ඉතින් එයාගේ අත්දැකීම් ගැන තමයි එයා එතන එයා කියලා දෙන්නේ.
It is not doing Bitcoin mining itself, but providing infrastructure as a service to the Bitcoin miners. So they are also supporting Bitcoin mining. So in a way, they are also doing sovereign mining.
ඒ වගේම Bitcoin mining ගැන තිබ්බා. ඒ වගේම Bitcoin ඉන්දියාවේ Bitcoin exchanges වලට තිබ්බ අත්දැකීම් සහ ඒගොල්ලන්ට තිබ්බ challenges ගැන කතා කරා. ඉන්දියාවෙම Bitcoin exchanges නැත්නම් crypto exchanges ටිකක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ලොකුම එක තමයි WZRX කියන්නේ. ඒ වගේම මෙතන ඇවිල්ලා හිටිය තව Bitcoin exchanges දෙකක foundersලා දෙන්නෙක්. එකක ෆවුන්ඩර් කෙනෙක් තමයි ඉන්දියාවේ පළවෙනි ක්‍රිප්ටෝ එක්ස්චේන්ජ් එක පිහිටුවේ. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලන්ට මට කතා කරලා ගොඩක් එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් ගන්න වුණා. මොකද අපිත් ලංකාවේ Bitcoin exchange එකක් පළවෙනි Bitcoin exchange එක තමයි අපි පිහිටුවන්න හදන්නේ.
He's left the UK where he was working, had a stable job. He came back to Sri Lanka to build the Bitcoin ecosystem in his country. He's here to share his story. Building Bitnomi, we have Sajid Caldera.
Thank you, man. Hey guys.
ඉතින් ඔයගලන්ට පේනවා ඇති මගේ ස්පීච් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ මගේ ස්පීච් එකේ මුළු ස්පීච් එකම ඔයගලන්ට Bitcoin ශ්‍රී ලංකා YouTube channel එකේ අප්ලෝඩ් කරලා තියෙනවා. සිංහලෙන් subtitles එක ඔයගලන්ට ගිහලා මුළු එකම බලන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ පොඩි පොඩි parts වගේ විතරයි.
Right, for the first time. But I think we've got a long way to go seeing what you guys have achieved here. First of all, thank you and well done to Bichala and Plebs Together Strong. Let's give them a round of applause. Right? Fiat dying, but I don't know if we actually know what it feels and the reality behind that thought of what happens when fiat actually does. Like I said, we're all on Twitter. We see a lot of stuff like Fiat's dead. Of course, I have to introduce my beautiful island, right? The problem was always existing, but it came to the surface in 2019, April. The turning on of the money printer really did go burr. Over 100 billion LKR was printed over one day. Now you can see in 2022, our prices were around $200. Overnight, it became 356, actually around 60. Obviously, small queues turn into bigger queues. They start sleeping in these queues because, of course, they don't want to go home. They don't want to lose their spot. People were dying on these queues. This is obviously a picture of somebody that passed away. It's very unfortunate. So they were moving like this with their canister. It's heavy. So the blackout started. USD conversions. So if you had any USD, they would forcefully convert. The revolt, Sri Lankans are very nice people. But when enough was enough, it really was enough. It was called Aragalaya. In my language, that means the struggle. The struggle to kick them out. There were two sects, non-violent protesters and the violent protesters. So they started burning things, mainly the politicians' houses. They all got paid back by our money, but still, this wasn't a good look. And then, this was the Presidential Secretary's building. This is not political, this really happened. I just wanted to tell you guys the story. And while the movement wasn't that strong when it comes to Bitcoin, there were people, pockets of people still stacking $1 a day for years. And this is one example because it saved my purchasing power. And I will never let it go because it became a lifesaver for him. And we're trying to take back control of our money. Teaching, education, this is proof. Sri Lanka is proof of what happens when fiat dies and why Bitcoin must survive. Thank you guys.
මේක තමයි මේන් ඉවෙන්ට් එක. ඒක හරි ඉන්ට්‍රස්ටිං. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකේ තිබ්බා අන්තිමටම සේල්ස් තිබ්බා, ඒ වගේම බිට්කොයින් මයිනින් සේල්ස් තිබ්බා. ඒ වගේම නෙට්වර්ක් ඉවෙන්ට් එක ඉවරුනාට පස්සේ පාටි එකකින් තමයි අන්තිමට ඉවරුනේ. ඊළඟට තමයි මට ඔයගලන්ට පෙන්වන්න ඕන හොඳම එක තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් පාටි එකෙන් පස්සේ මට අල්ලගන්න හම්බුණා රාජ් මහිත්‍රවම්. එයා තමයි Bitchala එකේ CEO. එයා තමයි පටන් ගත්තේ මේ හැම දෙයක්ම ඉන්දියාවේ. එක දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියන්න, එයාගේ පෞද්ගලිකත්වය රැක ගන්න සහ ඒකට රෙස්පෙක්ට් කරන්න මට එයාගේ මොන සහ ඒ ඉන්ටර්වියු එක රෙකෝඩ් කරගන්න බැරි වුණා වීඩියෝ එකක් විදිහට. හැබැයි ඒකේ ඔඩියෝ එක තියෙනවා මම ප්ලේ කරනවා.
Hey Raj, so you are one of the, I guess, masterminds behind Bitchala, one of the OGs. How did you put together this amazing community? And just tell me a little bit about your story.
Okay, so I didn't put together the community put together themselves. So what I did, it was like back in 2020, I was about in the verge of like quitting my fiat job and get into Bitcoin full time. I didn't knew what the path was, so the only thing I could do was like learn to code. From 2019 to all the way to 2020 end, I was like so obsessed with Bitcoin and I wanted to understand like the core protocol and the mechanism, how with it works, so I started learning to code. By the end of 2020, I became good enough in coding. Like I don't have a CS background, I'm a civil engineering profession and I was working as a professional structural designer at that time. So that obsession about Bitcoin drove me to understand Bitcoin in deeply enough, and my objective was I want to understand Bitcoin code. And that drove me into learning to code, learning C++. Eventually I found Rust. And then I started like contributing little bit, like small PRs here, small issues here. And eventually by the end of 2020, I found myself that I'm good enough that I can like work part-time in various open source projects. And 2021, while I was doing that, I got a Spiral grant, left my fiat job and started working on Bitcoin open source development full time. I started with BDK. I was contributing into Bitcoin Core. I was also contributing into a project called Coins.
පාටි එකකින් තමයි
And
අන්තිමට ඉවර වුණේ.
throughout that process, I learned a lot. And then a lot of people came to me and started asking like, how did I did that? Like, how was the process? What did you learn? Where did you go? What did you study? And I found myself like repeating a set pattern of answers over and over and over again. Like, you go there, you study this, you find these projects, you contribute like this, and you eventually get there. Eventually it dawned to me like I can turn this into a structured program, that instead of like just me saying people like what's the path in DM, like what if I can like craft the path as a structured program under an organization that people can subscribe to and take the journey forward. That was the start of Bitshala. So Bitshala is basically a Bitcoin developer training platform where we take developers, like already people who know how to code, from 0 to 1 of Bitcoin. Like if you know how to code, but if you know nothing about Bitcoin, you start with our cohort. By the end of the cohorts, like it takes like, there are multiple cohorts in a sequence, but the end of the whole journey, you are capable to work and contribute on any open source projects out there, right?
That's amazing. That's an amazing journey. Thank you so much. And did you ever think, well, first of all, I think your summit today was definitely successful. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to show the rest of Sri Lanka what you guys are doing here. And it's such an inspiration. Did you think that your community would become something like this one day? Did you ever actually imagine?
Nope. It's all an accident, right? So like, when I was starting Bitshala, the initial thought was, okay, it's an academy, like, and we are gonna do courses, and that's about it. Along the process, I discovered one fundamental fact that is common to every Bitcoin developers out there. They're lonely. They don't have families that understand what they're doing and why they're doing. They don't have friends that relate to them. And they have just like internet cartoon characters that they talk in Discord about all these weird stuff that they're passionate about. So the community idea kind of like came together with the fact that what if we can create an online space where they are just all together all the time. That was just the start. And as we started holding the space, more and more people started joining in, and that basically validated my hunch that the developers or like whoever, like if you're a builder of something in Bitcoin, you are fundamentally lonely, and your basic nature is to find other people like you. And where do you go? You don't know a local meetup, you don't know a local conference, you cannot afford to go to international conference, you're gonna find online forums. And so that's where Bitshala comes in. And we created that online forum where people gather in and talk about various stuffs. They talk about like organizing various clubs that is they're interested in. They talk about organizing various projects that they're interested in. They talk about various study programs they're interested in. And it's like not planned at all. We just hold the space and let the community do whatever they want to do, and then people do whatever they want to do, and they just like go off after that. So it was like entirely part of an accident. We never planned of how we will create a community. We just like felt there needs to be a community to people for connect with each other. And the moment we started holding the space, the idea kind of self-validated itself, right? People just came in. We didn't ask them to join in, they just came in because they were looking for a space like this.
They actually didn't have a place.
Yes, they didn't have a place,
yeah.
And this was a place and they just came in.
Amazing, amazing. So one last question. So obviously I'm going to be showing Sri Lanka, and this is for my Sri Lankan audience. Do you have a message for them? And if you do, what is it?
So like turning a societal revolution of Bitcoin, like whatever we mean by hyper Bitcoinization, requires reform across all domains of society. It's not just tech. Tech is the first part of it. The devs, the builders, the designers, the product managers and the project managers, that's the first part of it. That's how we build infrastructure. But eventually, it's gonna affect all parts of society. Like, we need artists, we need lawyers, we need educators, we need all sorts of professions who are into their thing but wanna get out of this fiat monetary slavery. And that's a common pattern in every single country out there. So no matter what country you are, if you find out like what is that core crowd of builders who are gonna do things, it probably gonna start with like devs and designers, but that's fine. But eventually you are gonna need educators, lawyers, artists, project managers, marketers, business people, startup people. So it's like a change that is happening across the layers of society. None of the layer will get untouched. So what I will suggest for any people who is building their local community is like involve everyone. And the mantra is simple. For anyone to get involved into Bitcoin, the mantra is simple, is like figure out what you are good at and do that for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin will figure out the rest. So if you are a good artist, draw for Bitcoin. If you are a good singer, sing for Bitcoin. If you are a good dev, build for Bitcoin. If you are a good designer, design for Bitcoin. And eventually the Bitcoin as an global energy and a community in a form like how we see today with networking with different people, it's gonna figure itself out. Right? So any community, the best possible thing it can do to its member is to put in that belief, like find out what you are good at and do that for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will figure out the rest of the things. So we have done this in India. It works for the devs, it works for the designer, it works for the educators. It's gonna work everywhere. And from Bitshala's side, we wanna open source how to do this. Right? It's not like Bitshala has done it, so only Bitshala knows how to do it. We have figured it out. We are gonna open source the playbook, and we are gonna make it available for any other community who wanna do it. If you wanna run a club, we have a playbook how to do it. If you wanna run a cohort, we have a playbook how to do it. If you wanna run a meetup, we have a playbook how to do it. So just copy us, copy other people. There are other communities outside, like people are doing amazing work in Indonesia, Africa, Argentina, Brazil, and different countries have different contexts. The problems of different countries are different. The economics are different, the geopolitics are different, the mindsets are different. So the nuances for each individual country is gonna be different. So that's why like the local community comes in, like the local Bitcoiners comes in. Only they knows what their local community needs, right? So all the frameworks are out there, the supports are out there. Don't hesitate to go all in. Figure out what your local community needs, provide that need, ask for support from outside collaborators. There are people always willing to be helpful on this front, right? So that's how we do it. Like each single country in each single locality, small groups of people coming together, feeding the remaining part of the community over there, them being an example, being replicated in another part of that country. And over time, we will create these pockets of small community builders and small communities of educators and activists. In essentially, it's kind of like an act of political activism. So that's what my message would be, right? So if Bitshala can be helpful in any possible way for Sri Lankan developers, designers and educators, or in general builders, people who are willing to build, and if Bitshala can provide any kind of materials and resources towards gathering that community, we are all in for that.
Appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And I came to India to learn this, how you've done this. Obviously Sri Lanka needs this, and I wanted to see what our neighbors are doing, and I've been very impressed, and I've learned so much, and I've networked with so many different people. So again, thank you so much, Raj, for what you've done so far for the community, and obviously giving me the opportunity to come out here as well and kind of experience this. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely, it's pleasure to see.
Okay, so then සමට් එක ඉවරයි. සමට් එක කියන්නේ guest speakers ලා ඇවිල්ලා කතා කරපු එක. මම රෙකෝඩ් කරගත්ත ස්පීචස් මමත් ලංකාව ගැන ස්පීච් එකක් දුන්නා. ලංකාව ගැන ස්පීච් එක දුන්නේ අතරම ලංකාවේ තියෙන ලොකු ප්‍රශ්න අපිට මෙහි මුණ දෙන්න වුණ ප්‍රශ්න ගැන. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ රුපියල බිඳ වැටීම, ඒ වගේම සල්ලි ප්‍රින්ට් කිරීම, ඒවත් එක්ක මගේ අයිඩියා එක වුණේ ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්දියාවට සහ ලෝකයට කියලා දෙන්න මේ ගොඩක් බිට්කොයිනර්ස් හිතන දෙයක් තමයි මේ ෆියට් කියන දේ මේ ලෝකෙට අවශ්‍ය නැහැ කියලා. ඒක ඩිබේට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි මං හිතන විදිහට මගේ අදහස තමයි අපි දැක්කනේ අපේ රුපියල එකපාර කඩාගෙන වටනකොට කොච්චර මිනිස්සු දුක් විඳද කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ අතරම ෆියට් කියන දේ අපේ රුපියල 200 ඉඳන් 300 ගණන් යනකොට ඩොලර්ස් එහෙම රිසර්ව් එකේ නැති හින්දා අපිට වුණ දේවල් ගැන අපිට මතකයිනේ. ඒක නිසා මේ බිට්කොයින් ලෝකේ සමහර බිට්කොයිනර්ස් කියන විදිහට ලේසි නැහැ මේ ෆියට් මනි නැත්තම් නෝමල් සල්ලි පද්ධතිය ඉවත් කරන්න. මොකද අපි හොඳට ඒකෙන් බැට ගහලා හිටියේ. ඉතින් මට ඕන උනේ ඒ අපිට වුණ සිද්ධීන් හරියට කියලා දීලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට කියන්න මෙහෙමයි ෆියට් කියන දේ නැති වෙලා යන්නම ඕනේ නැහැ බිට්කොයින් වලට අපේ සමාජයේ ඉඩක් හදන්න. අන්න ඒක තමයි මට කියලා දෙන්න ඕනේ. අනිත් එක තමයි ඉතින් ෆියට් සල්ලි කොහොමත් මැරි යන්නේ. කියන්නේ 2022 දී මරනවා. ආයි 2023 24 25 වගේ පොඩ ආයි back to normal ආවා. back to normal නම් එන්නේ නැහැ. 200ට නම් ආයි කවදාකවත් එන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඕක වෙවි පවතිනවා. මොකද governments කියන දේවල් කවදාකවත් පොඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ spending එහෙම කවදාකවත් පොඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොන රටේවත් ඒක වුණේ නැහැ. ඒක නිසා හැමතිස්සම government එකක් වුණාම ඒක expand වෙවි තමයි යන්නේ. ඒක නිසා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ spending වැඩි වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා කොහොමත් දැන් print කරේ නැති වුණත් සල්ලි ඉදිරියේදී print කරන්න වෙනවා. මේක හැම රටකටම කරන්න ඕන දෙයක්. එක අවස්ථාවලදී. ඉතින් මේ සල්ලි ප්‍රින්ට් කිරීමෙන් වෙන දේවල් ගැන තමයි මම කියලා දුන්නේ. කොච්චර දුක් විඳිනවද මිනිස්සු පෝලිම් ගැන. ඒවයි තියෙනවනේ ප්‍රතිඵල මිනිස්සුන්ට පේන්නේ නැති ප්‍රතිඵල තියෙනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ කොච්චර හොස්පිටල් වැහුණාද? ඒව වලින් වුණ නෙගටිව් ඉෆෙක්ට්ස් අපේ සමාජයට ඒ ගැන එහෙම කියලා දීලා ඇයි බිට්කොයින් කියන දේ සමහර මිනිස්සු හිටියා අපි අතරේ බිට්කොයින් වල ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ධනය ගබඩා කරලා තිබ්බ මිනිස්සු. එතකොට අර රුපියල අවප්‍රමාණය වෙනකොට ඒකින් ප්‍රොටෙක්ට් වෙලා හිටියේ මිනිහෙක්ගේ කතාවක් තමයි මම කිව්වේ. ලංකාවේ මට හම්බුණ දවසකට $1 එකක් හැමදාම අවුරුදු ගාණක් බිට්කොයින් වලට දාලා එයාට තියෙන සල්ලි වල සේවිංස් වල ලොකු කොටසක් බිට්කොයින් වලට දාලා තිබ්බ කතාවක් තමයි මම කිව්වේ. ඉතින් ඒකෙන් එයා ප්‍රොටෙක්ට් වුණ හැටි එහෙම එක්සැම්පල් එකක් මම දාලා දුන්නා. ඒ වගේම Bitnomi ඇප් එක ගැන පොඩි ඉන්ට්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකක් දුන්නා. ඇයි අපි Bitnomi කියන දේ හදන්නේ? මොකද කුණාටුවක් ආවා. හැබැයි ඊළඟ කුණාටුව එන්නේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපිට ඕනේ පාලම හදන්න බිට්කොයින් වලට.